Hey, so anyway, this is basically a video covering some WordPress improvements you can do in a site. This is basically, I think, my only WordPress site I've still got. Reason for why is I still got it. I'm mostly keeping it for experiment. I'm still deciding what exactly I'm going to do with the website. But anyway, to get into speed with you, which might interest some of you, be a bit of fun, depending what you're into, of course. So according to this, I got basically a performance according to Google itself of 74, accessibility 70, best practice 100%, SEO 91. I got performance, as you can see here, 71, and it says, your speed, all that kind of stuff here. So, should we rely purely on, Google itself for this sort of thing? Should we, believe everything Google says? In simple terms, no. It helps you, that's definitely true, no doubt about that, but it's like everything, it's a guideline. Because if we use this example, according to that on the desktop, I'm 1.2 seconds. So we could say it's partly right, but you have to remember the checks Google's doing based on quite a few factors. For example, let's say there's a lot of people using Google at the moment. That's going to give the server itself more of a stress to go onto your site from this thing or go on your site in general. That itself can affect the speed, meaning in some cases it can be a good idea to do a check between 1 to 3 times and then basically work out what you think is the correct thing. You could go 4, but 1 to 3 is generally enough. You can also in general get much better results, I found in most cases, from the site tools.ping.dot. I find in general gives a better result for speed and all the rest of it. But we can still use both these things to give us information about how exactly we can improve the speed of our site. So we can just simply read what it tells us, and that's basically one of the best ways to do it. So we can see here, according to them, if I eliminate render blocking resources, I can save approximately 1.999. So I can do it by simply, installing a plugin, which may be useful, or I can change the style of my theme of my site. I can say, for argument's sake, remove images, do other things, but there's lots of things we do. But we can see here the CSS itself is given an issue in some cases. So I might find getting rid of this CSS file or part of this file, moving different themes, that kind of stuff, it can be used to increase your speed as a whole. There's many things that Google itself can tell you or pinged in itself. So Google Fonts, in case you don't know, Google Fonts itself actually can give people speed issues. I've always found it a bit funny, a bit bizarre. Google's all thing fonts can actually give you speed issues, but it's just one of those things. So how exactly can you get rid of it? Well, you can do it different ways. You can simply remove the Google style font, because in some cases it's been shown that Google itself actually uses that to, if you like, track information, which can be used to slow down your site. You can do that, or you can install plugins from WordPress itself. I can't remember exact names, I haven't used them in a few years, but you do get a plugin from Google, something like Google Font Theme thing, something like that, and basically removes the problems you have with speed. So you can do that to improve your speed. You can also see down here, considering reducing the time spent parsing, compiling, executing JS, you may find delivering smaller JS payloads help with it. Learn to minimize. So we could quick out if we didn't know, we want to learn more. So there's lots of things you can do here to improve what's going on. So our largest contextual paint element here, so that's kind of obvious here, is a big image. So how can we get around this? What can we do to make us better? Well, we can simply compress it. In a lot of cases, it'll do a trick, make it smaller. That itself will generally make it less. The reason for why exactly it's so big in some cases, when you're using different AI softwares, they're generally making a really high quality image. So that might mean in some cases it looks really beautiful, true, but from a speed perspective, we might need to make it smaller. It looks great, true, but from a speed perspective, it looks kind of ugly. So that's one of the things you have to realize when it comes to speed. We sometimes have to go with what loads fast rather than beauty in some cases. So if we made that smaller, we would in theory get a better load time. Images themselves are generally the number one thing which are going to give you issues in regards to how exactly fast your site will load in most cases. If you said to me, but I really like my big image, you can do things like, in WordPress, let's use Short Pixel. Short Pixel, in case you don't know, it will in theory automatically reduce the sizes of your images. You can generally always get sort of cheap deals in Short Pixel from AppSumo. It seems to always sort of happen every year so many times. If you don't want to pay a monthly service, or you can pay a monthly service, it's not really much money. Or you can simply do it manually yourself. You can use Photoshop, you can use Infrafrag, you can use many things. There's lots of softwares you can use to do it, or you can even just use standard Windows Paint if you want to for some reason. So there's lots of possibilities how to make it smaller if you need. So, according to this, it says we should minify our CSS. Potential saving of 5 kilobytes. So, is 5 kilobytes worth it? Probably not. Unless you're really desperate to get faster speeds, it's probably not worth you doing it, to be fair. So, I can minify my JavaScript. So, is 3 kilobytes worth it? Probably not, unless you're really trying to hardcore speed improvements. Ensure text remain visible during web front load. So we might decide this is something we need to work on. If that's what we're needing to do, you see it goes back to the Google Fonts again. So Google Fonts itself can actually give, ironically, a lot of problems in some cases. Well, that's the reason why some people in some cases actually remove them. It's like everything depends on you, what you're into, or what you need done. But you can see there, again, it gives us images which it says there's some issue with. So you could, in theory, change it to suit that if you want to. Reducing JavaScript can give us a saving of 125 kilobytes. So that itself can be useful for doing. I'd say 125 kilobytes itself is something you might want to consider, but it's like always, it depends on how fast your site's loading. The site I've got at the moment is meant to load around 1 to 2 seconds. That is quite fast, to be fair. It's not perfect, but nothing's perfect generally. We can also see double click. So what exactly is the problem with AdSense in a site? AdSense itself, one of the biggest problems of AdSense in most cases is the speed. The speed itself from AdSense is quite hard, or in some cases almost impossible to get fast speed. So be aware, if you have AdSense on your site, it will slow your site down. But you have to consider as well, even it will slow your site down by a couple of seconds, in some cases, or 1, 2, doesn't really matter. Because it's used by Google, you could argue in some cases Google will let you off your site a bit slow, because in theory you're making Google money, but like always, it depends. So do what works for you in general regarding AdSense. If you're making money from them, keep using it. If you're not, then get rid of it. JavaScript execution time. So I might want to decide, I might want to reduce my JavaScript execution time if that's what I need to do. That's what I can potentially do. So we can see also here going down that we see different information such as, about jQuery, about JS navigation. You see the AdSense again? So that's just showing you it does affect other parts as well. But it's just one of those things. Avoid long main thread tasks. So we might decide we need to remove something, do something in regards to our Lighthouse Avo JS. We might do something over that. So we might decide these are worth us moving. You see again, the AdSense comes up. We might decide here, we need to move that navigation. So you can do lots of tests into it to make your site load faster. That's what you have to do if you're in a very competitive niche or you just need your site loading faster for some reason. You see again, we see different data from AdSense. So AdSense itself does unfortunately take up quite a lot of data. And you see again the Google fonts appearing here and the CSS files. We can also see what it calls the Google API code. So the API code in some cases, it can, in some cases, make your site a bit slower. It's like always, it depends, but it can give effects in some cases. So we might want to avoid an excessive DOM size, total DOM elements, that kind of stuff. So we might want to, remove our WooCommerce. WooCommerce itself is basically like a WordPress version of like e-commerce. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It can be great if you're doing WordPress, selling products, that kind of stuff. But because it takes up a lot of space and WordPress itself is a blogging platform, it's not an e-commerce platform, you might find in some cases, if you want to do an e-commerce thing, WordPress is often not the best. But if you really want to do WordPress, then hey, go for it. It's like everything's what you want or what your client wants. Avoid large layout shifts are here. So again, we see the image thing again, giving us more information. So you can go down this list itself and then make the changes you think are necessary. But be aware, if you're spending all day doing these sort of things, you're generally not doing the other things that may be important. So it might be in some cases where if you're hiring someone to do work for you. But like always, if you're going to be hiring people to do speed manage, you really want someone who actually can understand hypertext markup language, CSS files, someone who actually does have the skills. Because this is something I often see people do wrong when they hire people. They often hire people who either know proper website designing background. What do I mean by proper website design background? This basically means people who actually have done, like I've done in the past, built sites in full hypertext markup language, built sites in Python. You want basically someone who actually has some level of expertise, not just someone that says, I built a site in WordPress, I'm the smartest person at apparently hypertext markup language. That's not what you want. You want someone who has the skills and the technical skills to be able to change the code if it's necessary to improve the load time. Because the load time itself can be governed by problems in WordPress, it can be governed by other things going on. You have to, in some cases, have someone who does have a proper website design background so they can fix things. If you got a big site, it can be really useful. If you got a really small site, it may not be as important, but like always, people want fast loading times. That's just how we are as a whole, to be fair. You can see here again, we get more information about the font, so we might want to remove that font. We get more jQueries, we get more about e-commerce, more about CSS files. You see AdSense again, Google Fonts, that kinds of stuff. Avoid chaining critical requests. So we might decide, hey, I want to remove the digital shop CSS from theme style stuff going on. So that might be something we want to remove. So there's lots of things you can use this thing to tell you in regards to, making things better. So it says buttons do not have an accessible name. So maybe we need to make a better thing here. We might not need to, but it could be worth us doing. Image elements do not have an alt. That's basically a thing which basically helps to name it, what exactly is this thing in simple terms. It basically means that someone's got site problem kinds of stuff. It can make it more easy for them to see as a whole. Links do not have a discernible name. I'm personally wrong, but hey, it's one of those things. So here we might decide, we want to do that. I wouldn't really say that's that important, but it might be valuable for you. The user scalability using the meta, name, viewpoint, element on a maximum scale in lesson 5, we might want to do that. Background and foreground colors do not have a sufficient contrast ratio. Maybe that's something you feel is necessary. I don't think that's really important, but for some people, maybe. We can see the audits we passed, match roles, and so on, roles required, that kind of stuff. So we can see different things we passed. So according to that, I've got best practices of 100%. Does that mean my site's perfect? No, but it gives you a guideline, and that's what you really want. We can also go down different parts, detect the JavaScript libraries. We can also do SEO things. So I might decide image elements do not have alt tags, so we need to include our alt tags. With regard to how much ranking boost you get, you will probably get a slight one, but it's nothing to take too serious. More just to help people when the SEO benefits as a whole in that area. Top targets are not sized appropriately. 80% sized targets, so we might decide, maybe we need to do that. So that's something we could do if we want to for some reason. So there's lots of things you can use the Google data itself to tell you. We might decide, on our desktop we're maybe fine, or we might need to do things. You will find the results you get from desktop compared to, your mobile are completely different in some cases. So you might have a perfect desktop, you might have a terrible mobile, or other way around in some cases. You're more likely to have a terrible mobile because mobile itself is going to be harder to optimize in regards to your rankings, that kind of stuff. And that's basically some of the basics you can do. If you're finding anything confusing, about this sort of stuff, you can ask me if you want to, or if you don't feel comfortable and you really want someone to do a proper audit of your site from a speed perspective, I can easily do that. Or if you want someone else, I can recommend different friends to do these sort of things if that's what you're needing done, if I don't have time for some reason. Anyway, that's all for the video. Thanks for watching and have a good day. See ya.